Welcome to A Right to Know. I'm your host and producer, Sherry B. And today we have our guest of honor on A Right to Know. Dr. Robert O. Young will be joining us. And for the first time, we're going to be talking about his international best-selling book, Life-Saving Information, The pH Miracle. So that's our broadcast today. So keep it tuned. You might want to grab a pen and paper and take a couple of notes here and there. In the meantime, I just want to take a moment here to really thank the listeners for supporting our sponsors, which supports our show, and it gets you some goodies. And believe me, I choose very carefully the things that I talk about on the show. The first up is going to be MyPillow. And of course, I would never talk about MyPillow unless I use them myself. They have great products. I just got some new pillows that are machine washable. First time I've ever had pillows that are machine washable. They come very lightweight. I just ordered 4 of these. And then when you open them up, they expand and they're so comfortable. They're the most comfortable pillows I think I've ever had. And you can machine wash them. So we've got that. I also ordered a bunch of new towels. You can see them still in the package. All different size. This happens to be a bath sheet. But great towels, top quality. And I just ordered myself another pair of the slippers, the moccasins, because I wore my other ones out. But in any event, look on there. And if you use the promo code Sherry, that's the point, SHERRY, or you can go to mypillow.com/Sherry, SHERRY, and you'll get special discounts up to 66% off certain items and any specials that they're having if you use that promo code. So I want to thank those who have shopped thus far on MyPillow using the promo code, and please do so, everyone. Next up is our locals. It's our community that's attached to our Rumble channel because I got the boot off YouTube with a huge following. So thank you. Please subscribe, and let's rebuild on Rumble. You'll see below a little red tab, and it says Locals, Join. Please click on that. If you donate a minimum of $5 or more a month, whatever you choose, you get access to exclusive interviews. And we have some gems on there from most of our previous guests, very short clips and interviews that are outstanding. And we'll probably grab one today with Dr. Robert O. Young. Also, you can log on there for free. You can join for free. You just won't have access to all those exclusive interviews and other things, but you can log on and post. So please know that, and please do. Now, one of the things that is the most important, and you've seen Dr. Robert Young on our show previously, and I'm looking for my MasterPeace right here. This to me is one of the most important products, remedies on the planet. And I don't say that lightly right now. This has been shown to be removing heavy metals, graphene oxide, forever chemicals. There's a whole list I think Dr. Young worked on of about 27 or so that this has been shown to be removing safely. That's the key. There's other stuff out there, but this is removing it safely from the body. And that's essential because some of the graphene oxide and other things have been found to in the form of microchips and biosensors in our bloodstream. You want to get that stuff out, especially before the 5G gets kicked in. So please support our sponsors, and thank you. Now, without further ado, our guest today is Dr. Robert O. Young. He's a former tennis pro. He's a naturopathic doctor, research scientist, and a doctor of pleomorphic microbiology. He has a bachelor's and a master's in nutrition from American Holistic College of Nutrition, a doctorate in biochemistry also from the American Holistic College. He is certified in live blood examination, dark field microscopy from Enderlein Institute. He's received honorary recognition in medical microbiology from Accademia Mexicana di Medicina Tradizionale and a PhD doctorate of philosophy in nutrition from American Holistic College of Nutrition. He's also the great-great-grandson, by the way, of Brigham Young. Now, for the past nearly 3 decades, Dr. Young has been widely recognized as one of the top research scientists in the world. He's been invited to speak from Harvard University to Beijing, China, and all around the world. His accomplishments, degrees, and honorary recognitions are too long and wide to list here. Throughout his career, his research has been focused at the cellular level. Having a specialty in cellular nutrition, Dr. Young has devoted his life to research the true causes of dis-ease, subsequently developing the new biology to help people balance their life. In 1994, Dr. Young discovered the biological transformation of red blood cells into bacteria and bacteria into red blood cells. He has since documented several such transformations. He's an international best-selling author, as well as author of many peer-reviewed articles, which you can have access to for free on his website. He was featured in Foster Gamble's film Thrive. Dr. Young is the author of many books, including the international bestseller that we'll be discussing on today's broadcast, The pH Miracle, Balance Your Diet, Reclaim Your Health, which has sold more than 5 million copies worldwide. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome back, but the first time on the pH Miracle, to A Right to Know, Dr. Robert O. Young. Welcome back.
Thank you, Sherry. It's nice to see you, and nice to have this opportunity to talk to something that I've been living for the last 40 plus years.
I didn't realize it was that long. So what we're going to discuss today, and really this is life-saving information. I have read the book, otherwise I wouldn't be having Dr. Young on the show thus far, and this is a copy that he actually signed. So the pH Miracle. Let's just start off, Dr. Young. Some people don't know what pH stands for, and I think that's important starting off for us to understand.
Well, it is an acronym, and scientifically it stands for the potential of hydrogen. And not to lose people in the chemistry of this, okay, but it's related to a scale. The scale goes from 0 to 14, and that scale is exponential to the power of 10. So if you have a liquid, let's say, that has a pH of 1, and another liquid that has a pH of 2, that pH of 2 is 10 times more concentrated in reduced hydrogen, which would be H minus, than a pH of 1, which would be 10 times less than that. It's been said that neutral is 7, but it's neutral is not 7. 7 is just, here again, an exponential number as you go up the scale. And if you're looking at adding zeros to this, you'd have to go from 1 to 2 is 10, 10 to 2 to 3 is 100, 3 to 4 is 1,000, 4 to 5 is 10,000, 5 to 6, as it goes up, it goes to the power of 10. So if we're looking, let's say, at a substance like hydrochloric acid, okay, and everyone knows that hydrochloric acid, or should know that hydrochloric acid is a waste product, okay, that is found in the stomach. So it has a pH, which ranges, but let's just say 1 for now for purposes of explaining this. Well, the ideal pH of our body fluids, particularly the vascular fluids, it has a pH of slightly above 7 at 7.365. So if we're looking at the difference between those numbers, you'd have to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's 6 zeros. So that's 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million. So hydrochloric acid is 100 million, a million times more concentrated in acids, which is another word for hydrogen, than, okay, than our blood, our vascular fluids. So the ideal pH, which is the ideal concentration of hydrogen ions, which is what pH stands for, is 7.35 to 7.4. But in the small intestine, it's at not 7.4, but 8.4. So there's different environments as it relates to our fluids. And in the largest organ of the body, which is called the interstitium, which contains the interstitial fluids, I call it the body ocean, the pH of that environment is 8.4. So that's what surrounds the fluid that surrounds all of our body cells. Liver cells are saturated in interstitial fluid at a pH of 8.4, ideally. So the scale is a measurement, okay? If you take something like potassium hydroxide, okay, that has a pH as high as 14. So you have two scales. You have hydrochloric acid, which is saturated in H positive or hydrogen ions or acids. And you have something like potassium hydroxide, which is saturated not in hydrogen, but in reduced hydrogen. So H positive versus H minus. So the concentration can also be looked at electrically. Anything that is reduced in acids or H positive and has a greater concentration of H negative, which indicates more electrical activity, more electrons. So when we're looking at the scale of 0 to 14, you'll see these scales out there. You'll see 7 is marked as midpoint, and you'll see the high part is 14, low part as, of course, 1. And then you'll see certain things along. For example, coffee has a pH of 4.5, around 4 to 4.5. So that is a beverage which is saturated in H positive, which makes it acidic. And anything that's acidic causes oxidation or fermenting or rotting or decaying. Or anything that's alkaline, which is H minus, that's alkalizing, and that donates electrons versus where if something's acidic donates protons. So you've got this opposition in all things. So in the duality of life, there has to be opposition. There has to be opposites. And the ideal is to maintain balance or equilibrium between H positive and H minus, which is on this pH scale that goes from 0 to 14. Your cells can't live in a pH of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. You know, it survives in a 5 pH. When I'm talking about cells, I'm talking about body cells. When the ideal for managing and maintaining the health of the cell, it's at 8.4, which is identical to the pH of the ocean. So when we're measuring pH, we use an electron meter. That's what this is. It's an electron meter. You can see this. And when I turn it on, I can then measure using a probe. I can then take a probe and measure pH, which stands for the power of hydrogen, or I can measure the electron or proton concentration of a fluid, and that's measured in millivolts. So, and I do demonstrations like that on the internet, on Rumble, on also YouTube. The other way, for example, is to test pH, particularly the interstitial fluid, is to test your urine. And that you use pH hydrant paper. They come in these little containers, yeah, like that, or strips. Those are papers, yeah. Or you can get these pH hydrant strips, okay, and you test your urine. The ideal pH for extraordinary health is at 8.4 and at negative 80 millivolts. That's the measurement of showing that the fluid that you're testing is saturated in electrons versus protons. So the pH scale not only measures the concentration of hydrogen, H minus or H positive, but it also measures the electrical potential in the concentration of protons and electrons. So something that's alkalizing, very simply, is an electron donor. Anything that's acidic is a proton donor and thus reduces life force energy. So if you're taking something like, let's say, a soda that contains an acid called CO2, carbonic acid, that's what gives the carbonation. The pH of soda is going to range around 2 to 3. So if you drink that, you immediately cause a stimulation because you just poisoned yourself. So you're going to create a stimulation of the stomach. And most people don't know this, but when you drink coffee or you drink soda, the cells, they're called cover cells, that cover the entire stomach, start producing sodium bicarbonate and potassium bicarbonate to neutralize the acid in order to keep the pH up. So the main purpose of the stomach is to manage and maintain the alkaline design of the body fluids. And it does that by taking water, salt, and carbon dioxide to produce sodium or potassium bicarbonate. But the waste product of that production of sodium or potassium bicarbonate is hydrochloric acid. And that's a waste product, kind of like the exhaust from your car. So pH can be very simple, as it relates to understanding. I like to compare it to a bank account. Okay. And I call this your energy account. So every day you drink something or eat something, you're either making a contribution of energy or you're making a withdrawal of energy. And that energy is pH sensitive. So if you're eating a food or taking a supplement, like you showed the sodium bicarbonate, that sodium bicarbonate, if you test it, has a pH of 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts, which means that it will donate electrons. It will neutralize hydrochloric acid. It will neutralize the acids from the foods you eat. This is what causes hiccups. This is what causes people to burp. So when you're eating an acidic food, a beef or a chicken or a pork or an egg, or drinking a soda or a cup of coffee, the stomach immediately begins neutralizing the acids of that food so it doesn't poison you. Well, the chemical reaction, if you've ever seen it, of taking baking soda and putting it in vinegar, what happens? There's a volcano, right?
Right.
That's when people start hearing gurgling sounds, or they start burping, or they start, hiccuping. These are all caused by the chemical reaction of the stomach neutralizing the poison, either in a fluid or a food that you've just ingested. So if you drink alcohol, for example, wine has a pH of 5. That means it's going to take energy from the body and also put in a poison into the body called alcohol. That alcohol is neutralized by the stomach production of sodium potassium bicarbonate. Whatever doesn't get neutralized can pass into the blood and then into the interstitial fluid, and this is what causes people to become intoxicated. The way the body gets rid of this is through perspiration or urination. That's why people, after they've had too much to drink, they have to urinate, because the body's trying to get rid of this poison that you just poisoned yourself with. So the stomach, most people don't realize, is not an organ of digestion. Did you know, Sherry, that the stomach is an organ of contribution? Did you know that its main contribution is to purify the poisons from the water and food we eat, to neutralize them in order to protect, the blood, vascular fluids, and the body fluids, which are called interstitial fluid, at these higher pHs. That's where you improve the quality and quantity of life. So once you get this, this is how you literally reverse the aging process, because skin cells, eye cells, heart cells, liver cells are only as healthy as their environment. So testing the pH and testing the hydrogen ions, negative or positive, by doing what is called an ORP test, oxidative reduction. Oxidative meaning ferment, reduction meaning, alkalizing. So it's either acidic or it's alkaline. And so understanding the pH is very, very important. Now, there's my definition of pH. pH, when I'm teaching it, stands for perfect health. And the question is how would you like to obtain perfect health? And the way that you obtain perfect health is by managing and maintaining the alkaline design of your body fluids. And the most important body fluid to protect is the body ocean, because the body ocean contains cells like fish in an ocean. And that ocean has to be protected at a pH and at a ORP that is healthful. And the ORP, or the reduction potential of those fluids, can be measured by testing your urine. The pH can be tested by testing your urine. And you test it by using the strips or by using an electron ORP meter. That's what this is. Now, the difference between this, and these is the difference of $20 versus, anywhere from $800 up to $1,500. Depends how scientifically you want to do. But that every doctor who is not indoctrinated should have their patients and their clients be testing the urine so that they can manage the internal fluids of the body. Because health is determined by its environment. So in the pH Miracle book, there's a metaphor. And the metaphor is based on this question. It's based on the ocean and the fish that live in the ocean. If the fish are sick, what would you do? Would you treat the fish or would you change the water?
Change the water.
Okay, now behind me you see the ocean. The pH of that ocean is at negative 80 millivolts at a pH of 8.3 to 8.4. When we go into the ocean and bathe in the ocean, we feel better because it's identical to the pH and the ORP of our interstitial fluid. So when we bathe in salt, when people are sick and they want to remove toxins or acids from the body that are causing pain, like lactic acid, what do? They take a salt bath. What's the pH of Epsom salts? It's 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts. So what it does is it pulls acids out through the pores of the skin, and 30 minutes in soaking in salt can change. For the diabetic who has excess acidity in the form of glucose, glucose is a waste product. An example of that would be like bananas. When they're rotting and fermenting, do they get sour or do they get sweet?
Sweet.
Yeah, and so they get spots, and we know that there's an increased amount of sugar. Okay, that's a waste product of cellular breakdown. Did you know that sugar glucose is a waste product of metabolism? That the body does not run on sugar, that it runs on salt. So for a diabetic, if you take C plasma, that's what this is, C plasma, or marine plasma from the ocean, or C plasma from where my grandfather Brigham Young settled in the Great Salt Lake area, which used to be called Bonneville Lake, North Shore contains a pure C plasma that is at a pH of 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts, and it's a 30% concentration. So all you do is take this product and spray it in your mouth, and for someone who has low energy, they call it low blood sugar, but it's low electrical energy, they start conducting energy, because when you're putting something into the body that donates electrons in your electron bank account, when you donate electrons, your energy goes up. That's why coffee, most teas, black teas, alcohol, you know, animal proteins contain very strong acids that literally intoxify and poisons the body. In addition, it's putting in nanotechnology. We know now that the water and the food and the air contains aluminum, contains graphene, contains microplastics, contains polyethylene glycol, PEG, hydrogel, you know, fluorotanic acids, PFOSs, PFOAs. These forever chemicals are now in great amounts in our body fluids, and it's making us sick. So the way to become healthy again is to restore the alkaline design of the body fluids and reduce the acid load that the body's trying to deal with. So you're not sick, you're being poisoned. And when you maintain the alkaline design by reducing the toxic load, this is when cells thrive. So the answer to the question, if the fish is sick, do you treat the fish? Do you vaccinate the fish? Do you medicate the fish? That's indoctrination. Rather than alkalization, when you hyperperfuse alkalinity, you improve the environment, which then improves the functionality of the cell, which functions in a pH of 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts, and when healing, up to negative 120 millivolts. And that's why current medical nutraceuticals and pharmaceuticals are not effective, because many of them do not alkalize or contribute H negative. That's why many years ago I created a compound, being a master formulator of over thousands of products that are being sold worldwide. One of the products that I developed is called Purify, and it contains that electron donating material that's even greater than sodium chloride. With a pH of sodium chloride or chlorine dioxide at a pH of 12, this one has a pH over 14. So it's even a greater donator by tens of millions of times by simply putting a few drops in all the water you drink. It's called Purify. And this is my own personal bottle, but you can see the label here. Comes in a 4-ounce bottle, which lasts several months. And you just take 5 drops of that, put it in a glass of water, and that changes the whole context of that fluid. If you're starting out with, let's say, a pH of 7, it'll take it up to a 10, 10 and a half. it'll improve the electron concentration from a positive, which most waters that you're drinking are pulling energy from the body. It will reverse the polarity of water, making it electron donating water, providing life force energy, and act as a real true antioxidant or an anti-acid, because oxidant is just another word for acid. And anti means against acid. So antioxidant means against acid. What is acid? Acid is the waste product of what? Respiration. You know, so you got respiration, you've got all types of metabolism produces acidic waste. So respiration, uh, metabolism, and of course you have environmental toxins, and then you have food toxins when food is breaking down, and you try to reduce the amount of toxins by eating the correct foods, but you can also neutralize that. That's why a lot of people don't understand that you should be drinking while you're eating, but the water you drink while you eat has to be a at least a moderate pH of at least 8.4 to 9. It carries a electron donating to neutralize the hydrochloric acid and to reduce the load on the amount of sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate the stomach needs to produce. Once you realize that the stomach does not digest food, and if you don't believe that, do a simple experiment. You know, cook up some corn, don't chew it, swallow it, and watch what comes out the other end. Doesn't matter what you're eating, the stomach does not liquefy your food. And in order for the stomach to function properly, you need to chew your food well to a pureed or liquefied state, and it should be an alkalizing food that has a pH of 7 or above. Now, in the pH Miracle book, I've listed all these foods. Foods that donate electrons, foods that are alkalizing, and also foods that are acidifying, foods that take energy, that are donating hydrogen or protons. Okay, when I was testing food, I wasn't testing it based upon its mineral content. I was testing the whole food, and I've tested thousands of different foods, and I test the whole food, and I tested for its ability to donate electrons or donate protons, or whether it is pH alkaline or pH acidifying, and to what number. So I came up with a scale. The scale was positive 100 to negative 100, and you'll find most of the foods that are drawing energy off the body are those foods that that are commonly ingested that do not provide a constant alkalinity. So when you're testing your urine, particularly the first morning urine, you can get an idea where your pH is, because there's ebbs and tides with pH. And the most acidic time of the day is first in the morning, between 3 o'clock and of course till noon. And then after that becomes the alkaline flood around 3 p.m. up to about the time you go to bed. So these are the times when you need that. That's why I tell people that fasting does not work, that feasting on electron donating alkaline foods that are in a liquefied or pureed state are essential to reduce the acid loads from whatever was ingested the day before. And remember, the ideal pH of the interstitial fluid in the urine is at 8.4 at negative 80 millivolts. That does not exist in today's society. Why? Because most of what we eat, most of what we drink is acidifying and fermenting and damaging to the body cells. So this is what I've been studying then for the last 40 plus years. The pH Miracle outlines the basic concepts in Chapter 5, and the protocol, very simply, is in Chapter 11. Tells you what you should do on a timetable from 8 to 9 to 10, 11, 12, all throughout the day, some suggestions that you can implement to begin detoxifying your body from these pollutants that build up over time in our connective and fatty tissues. So we have great results when people will follow this protocol. It's a personal choice. I believe in people being able to choose what they eat, what they drink. In other words, freedom to choose, because it is your body and it is your life, and that should always exist. I believe in society that people should have those rights, those sovereign rights that were given to us on our birth and by God. So
Absolutely.
that gives you a little overview of pH. So pH, the potential of hydrogen, is a matter of chemistry, of measuring electrons and protons and alkalinity and acidity. So we're measuring the electrical energy of that food, but we're also measuring the potential of that food to either alkalize and energize our body. And so that was a slogan that I used 40 years ago. Is people would say, "What is your protocol?" Well, the protocol is the pH. They would ask me the question, "What is pH Miracle?" And I would say, "pH Miracle is a natural phenomenon between the cause and effect relationship, which currently is not understood by indoctrinated savants, medical doctors. Why? Because they're not taught this. Okay, it's cause and effect relationship. You drink this water, you donate acids, the body reacts to that. You eat this food, you know, this is the effect of that cause and effect relationship. So I'd like to suggest to people that cancer and diabetes and MS and all these names that have been given to sickness, these are not diseases. These are symptoms. And symptoms are not diseases. Diabetes is a symptom of excess acidity. Cancer is a symptom of excess acidity. And acidity can be measured and it can be documented. When you begin to hyperperfuse alkalinity into the body fluids, this is when you start reducing irritation, inflammation, induration, ulceration, and degeneration. And it's not an event, it's a process. And the stricter you are, whether you're an athlete trying to generate more longevity, more strength, more power, okay, this is what the top athletes in the world are using. This is what those who have had long careers are using. Tom Brady is an example of this. The reason why is because he follows an alkaline lifestyle. He understands the importance of pH and ORP. Those are acronyms for potential of hydrogen or perfect health, oxidative ORP, oxidative reduction potential, or the donation of acids or alkalinity in the form of protons and electrons. It's simple, folks. All you have to do is remember to test your urine daily. If you have a pH less than 8, all you do is take 1 teaspoon of 4 salts, which contains sodium or potassium bicarbonate, or if you have sodium bicarbonate powder, take 1 scoop, which is approximately 5 grams, okay, a teaspoon, in 3 to 4 ounces of distilled or high pH water, and you drink that every time that your pH is below 9. And if you want to avoid microplastics, then you won't drink out of plastic bottles. Okay, so you want to have a glass or a stainless steel bottle that's not creating more toxicity, because alkalinity will react to the plastics. Okay, so in other words, it'll pull some of that poison out. and it'll reduce the pH and the alkalinity of that water. So you always want to purchase water that has a pH of 9.5. Ideally, if you're dealing with any pH challenge or any challenge with your pH, it should have a pH of at least 8.4. But if it is a serious symptomology, you're looking at between 10.5 and 11 at negative 120 millivolts. And that you have to create by using an alkalizing, ionizing, functionally structured water purification system.
So, Dr. Young, this is amazing information, and I know it's been life-saving for so many people. I'm I'm going to have people, if you have questions after you've read Dr. Young's book, and you can get it on Audible as well. That happens to be, I have the book itself and have made notes there, and I listen to it as well on Audible. And I know you dedicate, like, for example, almost an entire chapter on water, because we're talking about our water, we're talking about our food, we're talking about how we feel. You mentioned that as well. But let me back up here one second, because you talk often, Dr. Young, about the interstitial fluid, and I believe that's the same as the body ocean. Is that correct?
That's the name I gave it, the body ocean, because the ideal pH and ORP is identical to the body ocean. The body ocean, or the interstitial fluid, the organ's called the interstitium. It's the largest organ of the body, and it contains the interstitial fluid. And the interstitial fluid is the fluid that surrounds the 70 trillion cells of your body that make up all of your organs and glands and tissues. The quality and functionality of any organ, any gland, or any cell, its ability to function, is determined by its environment. And anyone that's managing and maintaining a pH of less than 7 will always have symptomologies. And because of the indoctrination, that is going on in the naturopathic and medical environment, we have indoctrinated doctors that are treating symptoms and calling them diseases, not understanding that they are not diseases, but symptoms of chemical or radiation poisoning. And so when you manage the internal fluids, particularly the interstitial fluid, by testing your urine, which is a product of the interstitial fluid that surrounds the cells, okay, and in comparison by percentage, vascular fluids is 20% of what are called the extracellular fluids. The other 80% is the interstitial fluid. It's the major body ocean. That's why I call it the body ocean. And it's identical to the oceans of the earth.
So the interstitium, there are people that go, "Oh no, the largest organ of the body," they say, is the skin. So I think what you're saying is this is a larger organ than the skin.
What I'm saying is that's the false good. And I love the quote by Antoine Béchamp, who said, "There is nothing so false does not contain an element in truth, and so it is with the germ theory. So it is with the medical indoctrination. The skin is not the largest organ. In fact, they don't even teach this largest organ and the importance of it in medical school. They're now talking about it, but that's just a new occurrence. We've been studying this organ since the 80s. And this is the most important organ of the body because all sickness and dis-ease from chemical and radiation poisoning begins in the interstitial fluid. And the reason I say that is because the blood is constantly purifying its cells. The cells are constantly purifying. Where are they dumping their waste? They're dumping it into the body ocean. In the macro sense, where are we dumping our waste? In the earth oceans.
Right.
And are the fish benefiting from that? No, they're not. And it's a
No one
huge
is.
problem. Okay, well, the solution, which I don't agree with, is reduce the surplus population of useless eaters. I don't agree with that. You know,
Right.
no one has a right to make that decision.
Exactly.
What we do is we find better ways to deal with waste products, whether it's on the molecular level or the cellular level or on the macro level. And it can be dealt with. This world is big enough to accommodate all of us. We just need to be educated, not medicated, and not educated beyond our intelligence. That's called indoctrination. And what has to change is the whole foundation of education and understanding what I call the new biology, the new chemistry, the new physics. We need to understand diseases are for profits, for they're manufactured, they're man-made. There are no specific diseases. There are specific symptomology, but there's only one disease, there's only one cause, there's only one treatment, and there's only one health. And that's a book I wrote in the 80s.
There's only one disease?
There's only one disease, and the one dis-ease is the overacidification and the blood, and then the interstitial fluids due to a perverted or inverted way of living, eating, thinking, breathing, feeling, and believing. Disease is a manifestation of an imbalance. So we have to get off this etiology that there are specific diseases and realize that we are not in a disease state or sick. We have been chemically poisoned either by radiation or nanotechnology or micron technology. Here again, in order for a cell to thrive, it has to have an environment that's conducive for survival. And that was determined by a Nobel Prize winner, Alexis Carrel, who determined that the life expectancy of the human cell, of the body cell, is infinite. So death is a personal choice. Death is something we choose every day, or life is something we choose every day. If we choose to manage our internal environment and maintain its alkaline design, knowing that all functionality of cells in their aggregate, glands and organs, all functionality of our glands and our organs and our tissues, okay, that produce acidic waste products that, if not properly eliminated through the 4 elimination organs for men, 5 for women, which is urination, defecation, perspiration, respiration, and menstruation, the body's constantly detoxing. So we don't need treatments. What we need is a protocol to restore balance. And that's what the pH miracle, restore your balance is all about. It's not about protein. You don't build muscle with protein. You build muscle with blood. You learn that the primary stem cell is the red blood cell. You learn that the primary protection is the hemoglobin, not the white blood cells. White blood cells are just glorified garbage collectors. And yes, they release, some of them called lymphocytes, like T cells, B cells, release what? Reduced hydrogen, reduced oxygen. What does that mean? It means it's throwing out an unpaired electron to neutralize a poison in order to maintain what? The integrity of the environment, keeping it alkaline. That's why white cells become accelerated in leukemia. Leukemia is not a disease. It's a symptom of systemic poisoning, just like sepsis is. Systemic acidosis. It's the number one cause of death in the world is sepsis. It's not talked about, but it's chemical poisoning. Okay, chemical radiation poisoning. So you're not sick. You've been poisoned by your food, by your water, by your air, and you have not been taught correctly. You've been indoctrinated to believe in a germ model that's completely false. Germs don't cause disease. Germs are the symptoms of cellular breakdown. Germs are born in us and from us. This is what the pH Miracle, revised and updated book is talking about. And it's become very, very popular amongst those who have not been educated beyond their intelligence, those who have not been indoctrinated, those who have decided to remain in their ignorance. And this is not a time to do that when we're literally being bombarded with a host of nanoparticulates that are polluting our environment, causing damage to ourselves. That can be resolved. And you talked about MasterPeace. That's where MasterPeace comes in, because it is a collector. It is a chelator. It is a binder of poisons. It reduces graphene. It reduces aluminum. It reduces mercury. It reduces lead. It reduces, synthetic biology, polyethylenes, polypropylenes. The list goes on and on.
And
And we have tested this. We've tested blood. We've tested interstitial fluid. We've tested urine. We're now testing hair. We're in a double-blinded placebo study to continue to prove the efficacy of the alkalizing protocol. And the other thing that people don't realize, this is the only product that alkalizes and energizes, that literally donates electrons, that has a system of zeolite in an alkaline environment at 8.4 at 80 millivolts. This doesn't exist. Not all products that are called zeolite are created equally. In fact, they're actually not electron donors. They're literally hydrogen or proton donors. They pull more, they put more acidity into the body. They don't literally cage. So these are not the products we should be putting in our body. So when you understand this importance of electrical magnetic energy, and this is the whole process of life, opposites attract each other. So when you have a particulate that's toxic, it's a positive charged particulate. You take an antioxidant, it is a chelator, it is negatively charged. It's called the zeta potential, and it comes together. That's why I developed Prime pH. That's why I developed Purify. That's why these products have been available for over 40 years and are still helping people worldwide in over 150 to 160 countries. This is why the pH Miracle book, book 1, published in 2001, book 2, published in 2010, the revised and updated, and some of the other books called the pH Miracle for weight loss, the pH Miracle for diabetes, for reversing type 1 diabetes. Yes, folks, reversing type 1 diabetes, and the study that we did proving the fact that type 1 diabetes is not a disease, it's a symptom of chemical poisoning, and that you can reverse this if you're willing to do the work and to accept the fact of you need to manage the internal fluids of the body, just as if you owned a swimming pool or a saltwater aquarium, you manage the environment. And this is the way back to better health, better vitality, wellness. Stop focusing on the indoctrination of diseases. It's a lie. It's propaganda. There are no specific diseases. You are not sick. You've been chemically irradiated. And this is why you're having symptoms. You can do something about it. You have to take control. No longer can you trust the indoctrination. You have to understand how your body works and how to return it back to a state of alkaline balance. And that's the importance of the pH Miracle revised book, and also the pH Miracle 1 Both of them are great. You can read the first one, read the second one. It just continues the information and knowledge. And there's others like the pH Miracle for Cancer I
Cancer.
mentioned.
The
Mm-hmm.
pH Miracle for Cancer. I want to make sure people heard that. And those are all available, to my knowledge, on Audible as well. Some people prefer to listen, or you can do both. So that's available. And we'll have a link below. Some of the things that you had mentioned, Dr. Young, that are sort of simple starters that people can grab. We'll have a link below of a website that has pH products on it. So I'll include that. And
phmiracleproducts.com.
yeah, I'm going to have a link, a special link that I'll have below on that. And also for the MasterPeace, of course, which and please view the other shows that I've had Dr. Young on about MasterPeace, and you can see some of the slides and things. So many of the things that were mentioned in the book, Dr. Young, and of course on the Audible, were people that had different diseases, and we named a few: diabetes, Crohn's disease, cancer, foggy brain, low energy, declining eyesight, loss of calcium, bone loss, because we are, as you said, indoctrinated falsely. For example, one of the huge things that we're told in the food pyramid, who created that and what was their reason? So in that food pyramid, they say, "Oh, drink your milk and get calcium. You're start having bone loss." There couldn't be anything from the truth. That's like a 180. And I learned so many things in your book and in the pH Miracle that are just essential. It's helped people with losing weight. It's helped people that have had breathing issues, heart issues, allergies. I mean, the list goes on. Anything that you can list as a dis-ease. And we have the top ones also. When you balance pH balance, and you mentioned in the book as well to check your urine in the morning. So these are just tips. You need to read the book or listen to the Audible and take notes. But just doing even a few things starting off will change your life in a huge way. And one of the things I did just starting off was, in the meantime, I just want to take a moment here to really thank the listeners for supporting our sponsors, which supports our show, and it gets you some goodies. And believe me, I choose very carefully the things that I talk about on the show. The first up is going to be My Pillow. And of course, I would never talk about My Pillow unless I use them myself. They have great products. I just got some new pillows that are machine washable. First time I've ever had pillows that are machine washable. They come very lightweight. I just ordered 4 of these. And then when you open them up, they expand, and they're so comfortable. They're the most comfortable pillows I think I've ever had. And you can machine wash them. So we've got that. I also ordered a bunch of new towels. You can see them still in the package, all different size. This happens to be a bath sheet, but great towels, top quality. And I just ordered myself another pair of the slippers, the moccasins, because I wore my other ones out. But in any event, look on there. And if you use the promo code Sherry, that's the point, SHERRY, or you can go to mypillow.com/Sherry, SHERRY, and you'll get special discounts up to 66% off certain items and any specials that they're having if you use that promo code. So I want to thank those who have shopped thus far on My Pillow using the promo code, and please do so, everyone. Next up is our locals. It's our community that's attached to our Rumble channel, because I got the boot off YouTube with a huge following. So thank you. Please subscribe, and let's rebuild on Rumble. You'll see below a little red tab, and it says locals join. Please click on that. If you donate a minimum of $5 or more a month, whatever you choose, you get access to exclusive interviews, and we have some gems on there from most of our previous guests, very short clips and interviews that are outstanding. And we'll probably grab one today with Dr. Robert O. Young. Also, you can log on there for free. You can join for free. You just won't have access to all those exclusive interviews and other things, but you can log on and post. So please know that, and please do. Now, one of the things that is the most important, and you've seen Dr. Robert Young on our show previously, and I'm looking for my masterpiece right here. This to me is one of the most important products, remedies on the planet. And I don't say that lightly right now. This has been shown to be removing heavy metals, graphene oxide, forever chemicals. There's a whole list I think Dr. Young worked on of about 27 or so that this has been shown to be removing safely. That's the key. There's other stuff out there, but this is removing it safely from the body. And that's essential because some of the graphene oxide and other things have been found to, in the form of microchips and biosensors in our bloodstream. You want to get that stuff out, especially before the 5G gets kicked in. So please support our sponsors and thank you. Just doing even a few things starting off will change your life in a huge way. And one of the things I did just starting off was I got this organic food grade, non-GMO, et cetera, sodium bicarbonate powder. And you mentioned to put like a tablespoon in a liter of water. Depends what it's for. So
Teaspoon. Teaspoon
teaspoon
and 3 to
in a
4
liter,
ounces.
one whole liter.
Yeah, you don't need, no, just 3 or 4 ounces. You can just put a teaspoon and 3 or 4 ounces of distilled or alkaline water, and you drink that morning. You have it morning, afternoon, and before going to bed, or any time that the pH drops below 8.
Okay. Now, also, I'm going to invite people in the comments section to, after you've read the book, looked at the book, listened to the Audible, type in your questions. Don't just type in something that it's right at the opening of the book. So look through the book. If you have some questions you want to type in, and we'll invite Dr. Young back for a Q&A, and I'll pick out some of the questions that will help most people. Questions I have a few questions as well. So it'd be great to have Dr. Young back for Q&A. I know in the book, one of the things you mentioned also, Dr. Young, and please, we can go with a couple of top tips. One that you mentioned also is exercise. I know that's key for me, and thank goodness that's something I do on a regular basis. And I feel like a whole different person. If I go, say, 2, 3 days without getting some kind of exercise, I feel totally different. And what you're talking about is getting rid of the toxins from the body through the ways that you mention. And one, of course, is from sweating. You say in the book, you say it's a very good thing when we sweat because we're sweating out, it's releasing toxins from our body. And I just have to mention, everyone here knows the American diet, it is appalling. It's appalling. I mean, for example, I went to get gas the other day and went to like a 7-Eleven, and I just walked inside and I looked, and it should have just said crap, poison, every lining the shelves. And in the case were these sugar muffins, and on the shelves were these Cheetos with extra. It was just like, holy moly, what have we come to? Of course, we're going to have an acidic, toxic system. And how can we be healthy otherwise? So, what you're talking about here, Dr. Young, in a way, if you take a step back and look, it's like total common sense. One of the things you mentioned, Dr. Young, is cows, and you're not talking about eating cows. It's an acronym, COWS, and that's a postcard that you hand out. And can you just mention what the letters stand for?
Well, CAL is an acronym that stands for chlorophyll, clay, oil, oxygen, water, and then the S is for salt, sunshine, and sexercise. So those are the 7 doctors that we need to incorporate into our lives. And so when we do that, we start restoring the alkaline design. And on the back is called the traffic light. Here again, the traffic light shows the foods that you need to stop eating. the foods that are okay, and then the foods you can eat freely. And that's just a short list to help people. And I'm happy to provide that card to anyone who requests it. All they need to do is go to drrobertyoung.com and give me your name and your email that I can send this to you, and I'll send you that plus an additional 60 articles that and videos, my Harvard lecture, for no charge. So there's zero cost.
Okay, we'll definitely keep a link below for everyone to access that. And I really appreciate, Dr. Young, that you also mention our thoughts are very important and how that has to do with our body chemistry and
Mm-hmm.
creating, if we're in fear, for example, or feeling negative thoughts, that can add to an acidic interstitial fluid. Is that correct?
Yeah, thoughts require electrical energy in the form of electrons. Our body does not run on sugar; it runs on electricity. We're electrical beings having a physical experiment. We are a biofield with a body. We're sensitive to electromagnetic frequencies. So when we're having thoughts, we're using energy, and that energy produces an acidic waste product like lactic or citric acid. And this builds up and builds up if we're constantly, in our head, constantly thinking about things. And it's okay to limit that, but then, of course, when we put our thoughts into actions, that creates more acidity. So our thoughts can literally poison us. And our thoughts, when we're poisoning ourselves with our thoughts, when we're overthinking things, which increases lactic acid, this can lead to cancer. The number one cause of cancer is our thoughts.
Wow.
So that's why people who meditate, who are doing breathing, who are moving acidity out through exercise, we feel better. The reason we feel better is because we're literally moving waste out of the interstitial fluid into the lymphatic system and out through the pores of the skin.
Dr. Young, one other thing I want to ask you is a lot of us use this. Well, this is just a particular product that I get, Alkazone. Wait, it's changing colors here. There it is. Alkazone. These are alkaline drops that some people might add to their. I know you're saying tea is not the best thing, certain teas or coffee. However, do you have any opinion on these Alkazone type drops that alkalize?
Well, here again, it depends on the ingredients. You want to read the ingredients that are part of that. Can you see on the label?
Yeah, I'll read the ingredients. And while I'm looking at this, one of the foods that is amazing are avocados. I just,
Well, avocados is what I call God's butter, and it's high in protein,
hmm
15% protein, good fats. They're mono unsaturated fats,
hmm
so those are good for energy purposes. But yes, it's one of the most. It also has phytonutrients or compounds in it that are antioxidant. So here again, you can get tremendous benefit by incorporating avocados into your food plan, your live it plan, I call it, on a daily basis.
just amazing. I know you say to eat like one a day. And if someone's really suffering from some sort of disease, they can have more than that. But again, read in the book. It's a lifesaver. I mean, it's like a Bible, that you need to have handy. Everyone should have a copy of this book. So the ingredients are deionized water, potassium tripotassium phosphate, potassium bicarbonate, potassium citrate, magnesium
What form of
citrate.
magnesium? This is not a product that I would recommend. The
No?
forms that they're using in that product are actually proton donors or acidic. It's not going to raise the pH much.
Hmm.
The ones that I recommend are sodium bicarbonate, potassium bicarbonate, and potassium hydroxide. This is the product I would suggest. Right here, it's called Purify. Purify
Okay.
has a pH over 14 with a negative millivolts. That's negative 450 to 750 millivolts. All you have to do is put a few drops in water. So if you're taking a glass of water, 8 to 12 ounces, you just add 5 drops of this compound, which is completely safe. And if you're looking at a liter, you probably want to go up, to maybe 10 or 15 drops, but start slow. You do not put this under your tongue. You do dilute it in water. The best water to dilute it in or to add to is distilled water or water that has been purified alkaline at a pH of 9.5. And then you can add that to bring the pH up and the electrical energy up. But this product has been available to people for over 30 years now. Most of what people are putting in their drops are sodium chloride. I was just given an award by not only Facebook, but also I have a published article on chlorine dioxide and sodium chloride. And ResearchGate just constantly is sending me accolades of this paper that I wrote that I published in the late 80s and 90s. It's still popular and people are sharing it far and wide. That paper can be found on ResearchGate, or if you want to request it by going to drrobertyoung.com, I'm happy to provide a few of my peer-reviewed journal articles at a zero cost.
Thank you, Dr. Young. I'm going to have all the links below as well. Really appreciate that. And I know you've helped a lot of people, and I'm underplaying it right now. I believe one of your basis for all of it is balancing, having more of an alkaline system. I think that's where you start with the people in the past that you have that you've helped. Is that correct? That's the basis.
It's all about balance. It's not about treating any specific disease. It's about restoring the alkaline design of our body fluids. And by simply empowering people with the understanding, the education to be able to do that themselves. And guess what? That becomes very powerful when you can take care of yourself, that you don't have to concern yourself unless there's an accident with the indoctrination of the current medical model.
That is
which here again, there's nothing so false that doesn't contain an element of truth, and so it is with the medical model of indoctrination.
So powerful. Thank you, Dr. Robert O. Young, for joining me again on A Right to Know, and for the first time on your international best-selling book, sold over 5 million copies, of course, worldwide, The pH Miracle. So everyone grab a copy of that. And we're going to have you on again, Dr. Young, of course, to do a Q&A and a follow-up on that. So thank you so much, sir, and we'll see you back on A Right to Know again.
You're welcome, Sherry. Thank you for having me on your platform.
And everyone else, make sure to keep it tuned. We'll have links below. Stay after. For the locals, we're going to keep Dr. Young a few minutes more to talk about something really interesting topic. I have a couple of questions for him. So join the locals. Tune in to some of these amazing exclusive interviews and make sure to keep it tuned, because you have a right to know.